I think the biggest timing for Papis not to take advantage of was when they all funneled towards Kespainify right under that fire giant pit. He threw out the bees, the honey, the AoE damage was just spreading like wildfire, and that allowed Burrito just hold on for dear life for just like another 5 minutes and then finally find their own fire giant.
And Papis were just frothing at the mouth right there, ready to go in and sink their teeth into the Burrito one more time, but instead getting eaten alive.
I mean, that's what happens. Burritos bite back. Raijin banned yet again. Something that Burrito really don't want to deal with. They really respect the early lane clear pressure that this guy provides.
I actually really like the Jingwei ban as well for the Papis because you don't want to have to deal with one of the safest hunters in existence. Kespainify has been doing a lot of work on that AMC. I can only imagine what it would look like if he were to have that Jingwei in his hands.
But now Burrito respecting what Warchi was able to do with the Ho Yi in game number 1. It was actually pretty scary to see that. Not going to be the same option, but instead it's Papis taking away Muzen from Kespainify.
This could also possibly be MrNazer running that AMC
True.
in the mid lane. It's not necessarily Warchi, although I would probably expect it to be for Warchi. I feel as though MrNazer does profit a little bit more on those mage carries.
I think he wants a little bit of revenge, honestly. It's like, Kespainify, you had your time in the sun with this guy. Now it's my turn. Let me show you what I can do with this Muzen. If he can make half the plays that he did with the Ho Yi in game number 1, I think Warchi and the rest of his team is in a good spot here in 3.
Speaking of which, Janus and Serqet is going to be that combination for the Papis. And again, this is looking like a heavy pick composition already from the Papis. Not really looking too much around the team fighting possibilities, really just wanting to work around the backlines, and that's something that Janus and Serqet can do very well.
It's also eliminating a counter pick against the Janus. You pick the Serqet because obviously the poisons are going to persist even after taking the portals, so that's going to be keeping the mid laner alive a little bit longer here and just provides so much more mobility. Anytime there's a gank from Burrito, Papis are going to respond with a counter gank.
And as well, Burrito also taking a page out of the Papis book with that Soul Fafnir combination. I really like this response by Burrito because it's preventing the Soul from MrNazer. MrNazer has been doing a lot of work on that Soul pick in 2 games. Even though they weren't able to find the win in game number 2, MrNazer still had a pretty heavy impact on Soul.
So Izanami was actually banned second game around. I forget which team banned it, but this time around it's picked after the secondary ban phase. Tell me what's been about Izanami that everyone has a hot for?
Izanami had a little bit of an adjustment to her kit. Her dash and her ultimate now come out slightly faster, and even though it didn't seem like too much of a change, it has made a very serious impact towards her game. She already has one of the nuttiest laning phases because of how efficient and quick her clear is. You just eliminate that wave with the way that her in-hands work, that boomerang attack just shredding through those creeps.
Can body block in a 2v2 situation before the minions even get there, right? So even if your support is trying to help out your hunter, you're still going to get melted with those boomerang shots. Bellona, last pick for Burrito there. It's interesting to see this kind of pick there, trying to make sure you fight fire with fire. The disarm of a Muzen versus the disarm from Bellona.
I like the Ares selection here, though. A little bit of a risk, but carry Ares does tend to come into play if you can get that early game advantage pressure, which the Papis have been doing so far in both of the games. Like I mentioned, they might not have won game number 2, but when it came to the early game pressure, that was all the Papis.
And it's going to be a sprint coming out of Dracomarino instead of the normal blink aggressive play. Not trying to be too selfish, still going to allow him to get in position for a nice ultimate, but it's going to allow the rest of his team to either follow up or disengage. Even a double sprint coming from Burrito.
This game for the Papis is going to be relying entirely on Dracomarino's start here because Ares has the potential to eliminate Burrito so quickly if he gets online. It's just a lot of poke potential. Speaking of which, Kespainify winning the early in-hand war.
That's right, but the clear from Warchi is doing a lot of damage, and with the bluestone ticks going continuously onto Kespainify, MrNazer kind of shifting his way, but still even clear trades simply because of those in-hand boomerangs.
And Izanami probably one of the only hunters that can contest an AMC so well. Speaking of which, Fusify there with a great stun onto Dracomarino in the mid lane. Both are going to be able to get out just fine, though. FaraKrik and Fusify having a little bit more pressure as Soul Fafnir against Ares and Janus.
Even forcing the early sprint pop from Dracomarino, really fearful for his life, not wanting to give up at first blood in the pre-1 minute mark. That's one of the worst feelings in all of competitive Smite, because now you have to sit there, wait to come back, and realizing that you just gave up a huge bounty to the opposing enemy.
Not to mention that for an Ares, if you die anytime before level 5, you're kind of just rip.
Sibi forced to sprint away under his tier 2 tower in the solo lane. So Burrito are on the back foot slightly in the solo jungle side. Fusify going to eat 3 level 1 chains. Not the worst thing in the world, but once this Ares hits level 3, 5, 7, 9, starts getting these chains higher level, it's going to be a little scary for Burrito.
Chains are just for style points at level 1 chains. That's all that it's about. You let the enemy know, hey, I can land all 3. Even after the hammer stun connected from Fusify, Draco is still able to find the follow-up chain.
It's also target practice for the Ares user to be able to line it up, try to keep himself warmed up throughout the rest of the game. Johnny's still a little bit low here. He's going to pull Dheylo into the action as Sibi is going to follow up ever so slightly, but without his cooldowns, Johnny's needs to peel back.
Actually, a lot of pressure being exerted right now from Sibi against iCreeDx and Dheylo. You'd anticipate like a Chulainn to have the lane advantage just because he does have that double ability usage, but not quite yet.
Now, Susano also does a lot of damage with that Storm Kata. iCreeDx is going to bait himself out for the moment. It's going to stun out in place with Dheylo right around the corner. But more importantly is Burrito. They didn't take the bait.
Actually, take a look at Warchi already using his purification beads, coming under a bit of pressure from Burrito. Great rotation there by Fusify, probably caught him out with a hammer stun, making Warchi feel uncomfortable and popping those beads.
Between the stun from Fusify, the slow from Kespainify, forcing out the beads, FaraKrik going to eat one of the taunts, but the Disapparate coming into play right in the nick of time. Kespainify with a really comfortable experience per minute advantage as Warchi is coming back to lane now.
And that's kind of just what you expect to happen against an Izanami. Right now, Kespainify probably has 3 points in his second ability, and that second ability as well already tears through the wave. It's got such a long range to it, but it only takes 1 or 2 in-hands afterwards to completely take out those creeps.
Speaking of the Hunters, also different styles in terms of their itemization choices. Warchi wanting to get the tier 2 boots, I feel, to kind of get back to lane quicker, whereas Kespainify wants the Devil Gloves just to get the bigger power spike early game.
I actually like Warchi's mentality here to build the boots first, because it's very easy to get caught out by an Izanami, especially with her ultimate being sped up now. It's very easy, and AMC already doesn't have mobility outside of those hives, but not even those are quick enough to get him out of danger.
Mobility is key for this 1v1 Hunter matchup. We'll take a look at that as it progresses, but in the solo lane, going to force out Sibi's Eagle Rally and the sprint, though. It's only Creed's ultimate that was expended anyway.
And with that being burned out, Sibi actually having to use his rally as well. But as long as he's surviving, that's what really counts.
It's very true. You can't allow a Serqet to get a lot of momentum, especially in the early game. Things can get a little bit dicey. Warchi making a very nice rotation, poking out FaraKrik and Fusify, allowing his teammates to get those left side mid harpies ever so slightly. Creed, because he was in that rage form, he's just using his ultimate to clear the wave, knowing that he's not going to be any action anytime soon.
And it's actually a little bit curious here, going back to the Hunter builds that we're seeing the differences between. Kespainify opting for the Devourer's Gauntlet is a little bit more risky than if Warchi were to opt for it. Izanami actually, the way that she works with her sickle auto attacks, it's awkward because you have to wait.
MrNazer stunned out into oblivion. Kespainify gets the first blood onto the Janus in the mid lane. A great trap set up by Burrito.
Was not expecting that 3-man gank right there in the Gold Fury pit. MrNazer kind of just venturing into danger.
I mean, Janus is generally a safe god. Sometimes it can be a little bit of an illusion when there's a 3-man gank squad right around the corner. You don't have the luxury of the beads because MrNazer opted for that early Aegis.
And speaking of which, Warchi actually under fire one more time. Dzoni gonna look for that follow-up on the Susano, and so much mobility, even with the beads. Warchi not gonna be able to get away.
The damage over time, the ultimate from MrNazer trying to save his Hunter, but it wasn't in time. A second dead member from Papis. Burrito getting a slight and comfortable edge here with a 1,000 gold lead.
And Burrito actually doing the best making the most out of their draft, I should say. That was an excellent attempt by MrNazer trying to save the life of his hunter, but with that Janus ultimate being down, Burrito aren't going to have to worry about through space and time flying through for an engagement or disengagement. I wouldn't be surprised to see Burrito try and get another gank off somewhere.
For at least another minute before that cooldown becomes available. For MrNazer, Burrito could look to make something happen on the right side of the map. Speed buff is respawning very soon for Papis. Not sure if Burrito have the timer on that one, but it could be one angle that they approach. One level lead for Dzoni as he's been able to make his rounds all across the map.
Now, I just realized, too, Creed actually elected for the Blink relic on Chulainn. We've seen a little bit of this. And as a solo laner, Toli, what is the main, what is the appealing factor
He's
here?
not threatened by either Sibi or Dzoni in the solo lane because he's not getting shell, right? So he's not expecting to die or get pressured anytime soon. So he's expecting to make a pre-level 12 rotation in the mid lane with that knock-up, setting up a lot of damage potentially, or maybe even forcing out the beads, because if Creed can go in there with the Blink ultimate knock-up, force the beads, then Dracomarino will follow up and take advantage.
Going back to what I was saying, though, on the Hunters, before that 3-man gank unfolded onto MrNazer for the first blood, I have to say, I think that it's pretty high risk for Kespainify on this Devourer Gauntlets. The boomerang in hands only really proc one way. They don't proc both ways, so you don't get the same benefits out of that lifesteal unless you're in your first ability. That's and right. Having that Sickle Storm procced, it's insane auto attack speed. It's only one at a time, doesn't have that boomerang effect. Speaking of which, Sibi going in.
Up and down, setting up Dzoni for a little bit of damage, but it's Dheylo returning, able to jump away from the Typhoon. It's Creed in a little bit of trouble himself. Both soul laners forced to retreat.
Actually surprised that Dzoni didn't keep up the commit there. I was fully expecting him to try and pursue that kill onto Creed. Instead, he's trying to get a little bit of a sneaky pull in onto Dheylo. So much damage.
I think he's looking for the jet. Oh, I thought he was looking for the jet stream there. One more tick of damage could have been all he needed. I'm expecting him to kind of wrap around and do a little sneaky jungle play. Considering the way Dzoni was playing Nemesis in game number 2, he's still zoning 2 members by himself under that tier 1 right tower.
Oh, speaking of which, he was able to find it after the fact. Dheylo thinking that he could get away with the back just then, but nope. You're never safe when Susano's on the map.
Never, ever. And Johnny's wrapping around underneath as well. Sibi is there as well, forcing the blink from Creed safely under that tier 2 tower. With that one death and the relic, though, this is going to take a lot of damage off of Papis' tier 1 solo tower.
And that's kind of what you're looking for. If you're the Papis, you need somewhere to respond, and they're not going to be able to find it in the solo lane because of how much pressure Burrito have already established.
Gold Fury still not being looked at by either team quite yet. 9 minutes into the game. Burrito applying a decent amount of pressure on the right-hand side. Left side, though, Kespainify hitting that level 12 marker, sitting with a 34 stacks of Devil Gloves, wasn't really punished, as you were talking about, because of that risk versus reward factor. I think he knew that he was going to have the support from Fusify to kind of get this edge.
And that's where this is now pretty terrifying if you're the Papis, because Kespainify can shred through any objective right now. Just because of that Sickle Storm.
He's going to be able to probably get the tier 2 of his Executioner, if not finish it off right here, right now. Picking up a Sentry Ward just to try to get some vision around this Gold Fury. Look at all this triple vision from Papis underneath their own jungle, wanting to protect their hunter.
And it makes sense because Izanami having that stealth ability on her dash, it makes such a great engagement factor. You never really know which direction she's going to be coming from. So if Kespainify were to try and wrap around that backside, it's going to be able to be prevented.
That's the one disadvantage of the matchup for Izanami. Hold that thought, though. Dheylo forced to retreat under that tier 1 mid tower. Draco finding 1, finding 2. Third chain will connect onto FaraKrik, and just like that, Soul sitting at about 60% health.
That was a great through space and time engagement there by MrNazer. Actually able to secure the buff for his own jungler, so Dheylo probably super happy that his mid laner helped him out with that one.
So win-loss condition, right? You're securing your speed buff for your jungler, but now you're not going to have this repositioning tool for a team fight within the next 80 seconds or so. Burrito have a slight power play now.
I actually want to see the Papis try and slow down the pacing of this game a little bit more. Burrito have kind of been determining how quickly things are going to be escalating with their engagements and their aggression, but Papis don't really have too much damage early on.
No, not at all. But honestly, I was talking about this matchup earlier on before there was a little bit of action. Is this Hunter matchup, right? We're looking at a Muzen against Izanami, but the damage over time from Warchi is going to prevent Kespainify from safely disengaging.
It's the bees. The bees are great, but right now what's great is that ultimate from Sibi rallying in on top of his teammates, trying to catch out Dracomarino, who's going into his own ultimate, catching Sibi inside, but not enough damage just yet to take him out.
Not yet. Dheylo doesn't want to commit because he's a little bit low. Creed baiting himself out, stunning out Dzoni. The rest of Papis retreating under their tier 1 tower. The Hunters were thinking about making a rotation, but instead, Warchi going to commit under these oracles. Will go to Papis for the moment. Nazer, no mana whatsoever. But Burrito, they're thinking about playing aggressive. Look exactly where Dzoni is.
Dzoni knows that he's Susano. He knows where he can pressure the advantage, and he's been looking for it all game long. And, I mean, that was a great ult there by Draco. It's just that there's nobody from Papis to follow it up just yet. There's just not enough damage online. That's one of the flaws of pulling in for this Janus composition.
That's right. You don't want to commit through space and time just for damage, especially if it's going to be point-blank range. You'd rather use it for repositioning purposes. And Dheylo, considering he was at half health or so, he didn't want to commit too far deep in the action. Now, with the Golthier being started in the backline, though, Dzoni dropping the Typhoon.
And it's going to be the Burrito. No,
Papis. They get it. Papis started and confirmed it themselves. Dzoni eats the Serqet ultimate. Going to have to retreat, but a great recognition that Papis had a slight timing window to get this objective and walk away cleanly.
Thought that the Typhoon was going to be enough damage to steal it away, but the Papis still clinging on. 50-50 on an objective. Never fun to deal with, so fortunate enough for the Papis that they were able to have the secure.
Man, these teams are literally so even. We're in game number 3 here, and despite Burrito having this 3-0 kill lead, they're still up 1,000 gold. Would have been more if they found the steal on the Golthier, but Papis are not going to lay down quite yet. They still got a lot of fighting chances.
Neither side really wanting to give up an inch even to the other. And for good reason. Every single time that these teams have gone a little bit back and forth, it's always one end taking the worst of it all. And for the Papis, it's mostly been them this game.
And what do you think separates Papis and Burrito from the rest of 6th seed and above in Europe?
It's really just time and experience. They're lacking as much experience as the other teams, and of course, when you have members that have been around the SPL for so long and playing at a competitive level for so long, there's just small advantages that you pick up over time.
Still trying to make something happen thus far. There's 4 members from Burrito around the right side of the jungle, really respecting the fact that it's Dheylo that can be aggressive just like Dzoni. The way both of these junglers have been able to just reposition themselves around this map. The vision has been out of control from both of these teams. Can we take a quick look and gander at the wards placed?
There's probably going to be a lot across the board, and sure enough, lowest member, of course, the jungler.
The jungler. I was about to say, normally it's the hunter, honestly, but a lot of respect for Warchi and Kespainify warding their own side of the map, trying to prevent any sort of rotations, kind of disrupting their farming flow.
And that's kind of what you would want out of your hunters, especially a hunter like AMC. You kind of just have to ward a little bit more often. Hunters are being isolated now more often than not, so you don't really want an AMC left to fend off his own attackers.
Kespainify is never going to be able to safely dash away without being revealed. If the honey and bluestone pendant ticks are applied to him, that damage will reveal the Izanami, and that's one tool almost removed. Now, you're still going to be able to separate the distance, but the stealth factor won't be there. So maybe Kespainify will start looking for ways to use that offensively.
Kespainify, though, building straight into crit. Actually able to utilize it.
The chase, Kespainify is chased down by Warchi. Stinger was good as well. Warchi resetting that Stinger ultimate. It's going to go down to 20 seconds with Kespainify having to back here. It's a 5-on-4 advantage for Papis for the moment.
That was a great Aegis force out, though, by Warchi. Kespainify not having that active available now means that the fight could be in their favor. Dracomarino, though, looking to go in, forcing out Dzoni's purification beads.
That's right. The rest of Burrito, though, they don't want to give it the Portal Demon for free. Pop in the sprint, trying to get the backline. Sibi's going to pour the the Eagles rally onto Warchi. The Portal Demon being started, but it's just a little bit too early, too ambitious.
And of course, it's going to be the follow-up now by Burrito. Creed going really deep though. Papis already with the 2 for nothing, but it's going to be Kespainify returning the favor.
Creed's going to fall for Papis. Still a 4-on-3 though for themselves on the right side of the map if they really wanted to. Warchi though, he has no mana to use any of his kit. The rest of Burrito though, they don't want to give this up. Kespainify leading the charge with FaraKrik and Dzoni right by his side, and Papis going to give this one up.
Don't necessarily need mana when you're an AMC. Instead, it's going to be a blink in from Dheylo, still trying to commit here.
Typhoon with the knock-up, the ultimate from Izanami doing what it can, but it's Dheylo that turns it on Dzoni's head. He's the one that's going to fall instead. Finally, Kespainify falls to Warchi, and that's going to be a 1-for-1 after the initial 2-for-1.
And Dzoni really trying to get things going with that blink initiation into the Typhoon. And even though he found the knockup, there just wasn't enough follow-up. He was too far ahead of the rest of his team. So instead, he gets picked off. And then Kespainify, just another casualty of war there.
Serqet just does so much burst damage, especially when you apply the additional poison stacks with that additional in-hand at the end to get the combo off. Papis winning that so cleanly. They only lose Creed, and I think they get 4 at the end of the day. And finally, Portal Demon being looked at yet again. Sibi around this corner has Eagles Rally on the flip side, right underneath his Fusify. Gets spotted out by Dracomarino. Eagles Rally into the backline. Portal Demon being looked at, will be secured by Papis. It's now Sibi with a Serqet poison, and he's gonna fall.
There's just too many members of Papis surrounding him. No way that he gets out of that one. Sibi risking it all. Anytime you engage like that on Bellona with your Eagles Rally, it's either you come out on top or you go down with it.
The problem was it was only Fusify in position to follow up from the stun from Eagles Rally, and I think he was really hoping that the damage and the also physical protections would allow him the time that he needs to steal that one away, but not the case this time around.
Just look at how far back Papis are pushing Burrito.
FaraKrik's in a lot of trouble under that tier 1 mid tower. Creed's gonna make the ultimate dive here, in a lot of trouble. He's trying to survive under his own tier 2 tower, jumping in as Dheylo gets pulled back in. Stormcloud as well. The Ares ultimate pulls back to Typhoon, keeping FaraKrik dead still though. The portal not enough as Dzoni's gonna fall. That's 2 dead Burritos.
And Kespainify now looking to cut off everybody from Burrito, recognizing that he doesn't want to run into 4 members. He was able to take out that Gold Fury, but Burrito suffering a couple of casualties in the mid lane while their hunter was away.
I think it's still too early though for the Fire Giant, and Papis taking the look and resetting the timer on their minimap for this objective, realizing what Kespainify was able to do during that distraction on the right side of the map. And this graph, just crazy back and forth action in terms of gold-wise, but experience is slowly trickling under Papis' belt.
Actually a 3,200 experience lead for the Papis, and a lot of that disparity coming out from these mid laners. MrNazer, while at first having a little bit of difficulty on Janus, now that the game is progressing more towards the mid to late, this is where Janus really starts to flourish.
Whether or not you get the damage or the cooldowns, providing more portals, more thresholds for mobility purposes, this Janus is not to be scoffed at. He's going for the damage route instead of the cooldown, and as long as he has a proper setup from Dracomarino or Creed, that's all he really needs.
And Poison Star, though, is online now for Kespainify, meaning that he'll have that slow possibility, and with that Sickle Storm ability as well, it's going to be pretty annoying for the Papis if they get caught out against that hunter.
Especially with the steroid providing so much of a boost there. The damage is going to go through the roof. He's already sitting at level 17. He did get a little bullied out earlier on, which allowed Papis to be aggressive, but Burrito was always able to get something back, make something out of nothing, honestly. And that's why Burrito have been this SPL team. They might not be the best SPL team, but they certainly pack quite a punch.
They know where they can get away with certain things, and in that instance, I think it was one of the best examples was Kespainify taking away the Gold Fury, just soloing it while the fight is breaking out from the Papis.
Jostling for positioning around the Fire Giant pit. Portal Demon going to respawn in about a minute or two. FaraKrik in the mid lane, trying to see what he can do. He's still sitting at 3 items, going for a more conservative route with that Book of the Dead.
This was, that Gold Fury, though, was actually a huge break for Burrito because it does alleviate a lot of the map pressure they were starting to feel from the Papis. Papis having that little bit of a momentum swing where they were just up and running, completely attacking and aggressing all the time. That Gold Fury kind of just reeling the Papis back in, reminding them, hey, objectives are still on the map. We can look for the kills, but we need to find something after. And if everything's gone when we're fighting, we can't really afford to do that anymore. The
action was just so long on the right side over that Portal Demon that it just allowed the Gold Fury to respawn and look for a little slight play there. It's going to respawn in 2 minutes on the left side as Portal Demon's coming up in less than a minute. Dracomarino going to get stunned out before the third chain comes out, but Johnny, though, needing to kind of get out of there. Pops that Mad Guy's blessing, but in the solo lane, Sibi's getting chased down by Creed. Not able to find the kill, but able to bully him out in order to get this 500 gold for his team.
This has been a huge distinguishing factor between these two teams as well. In every single game so far, Creed has had the 1v1 advantage over Sibi.
It just seems that way, but honestly, that's probably why Burrito was applying so much pressure in the solo lane in this game. The plays that Johnny was able to do, finding the kill onto Dheylo, helping get the tower very low, but not able to really execute and find the kill quite yet.
Speaking of which, Dheylo and Kespainify, goodbye.
Where did he go? Honestly, he was left alone. His relics were used as well, but it just wasn't enough. The positioning for Papis was so aggressive, deep in the heart of Burrito's jungle, right between the purple and the red buff.
Speaking of which, now it's going to be the T2 tower being looked at by the Papis, still able to respond. Fusify going into that draconic form. Dracomarino trying to catch out 3 members, only gets the 1.
Sibi with the pull, not that much follow-up damage to Portal. The Eagles rally is going to get pulled back in as MrNazer uses the Aegis trying to back himself up, but the Typhoon ripping down, finding the 1 kill. Warchi on the back end will pick off Sibi. It's going to be a nice 2 for 1 in the favor of Papis. They're not done yet.
Warchi, he's not done yet. You're right, Sully. He's taking out FaraKrik as well, but Dheylo might make Fusify pay.
Creed's jumping in with Dheylo. The knock-up, setting up the kill. 3 dead Burrito members. Papis are not here to mess around. They want to advance beyond.
But they get 3 kills, and they're just a little bit too low to try and pressure out that T2 tower. The wave clear is actually in favor of Burrito, and because those creep waves are so far pushed up, it's actually all the way at the Papis T1, so they're not able to find the T2 after the fact. They haven't been able to look at the Gold Fury or the Portal Demon. Everybody instead backing, and now Burrito are already respawning.
That's true. I think that they were more contempt about taking the more safe guarantee play, waiting for the Gold Fury to respawn here. Being started now is finally Warchi is around the corner. Kespainify needs to be zoned out by somebody. You cannot allow this Izanami in position, but a great play from Dracomarino. He zones out the Izanami and just throws out the flames, hoping to reveal her.
And that's what I wanted to see from the Papis. They found the picks, and they also found an objective afterwards. They haven't really been doing too much of that leading up immediately, and now that they are, that's going to be the advantages that they need if they want to walk away with the set victory.
A lot of tension between these two teams. Do or die for both. Game 3 elimination. The winner moves on to face off against Energy.
And what a bout to fight for. Speaking of which, Dracomarino trying to initiate the fight, pulling in Sibi.
But nobody there to follow up. The ultimate from Eagles Rally was used. Johnny left alone. Warchi connecting on the Stinger. He's going to be crippled. Forced to use the beats, but it's not enough. Warchi strikes first blood here, but Kespainify answered in kind on the top side. Yet again, Burrito on the back foot. 2 members that make that 3 as FaraKrik gets picked off. Sibi left alone. 1v3. That's 4 dead. Burrito Papis are on a tear.
Sibi without an ultimate just means that he is free food for the Papis. And again, actually going to take the little Portal Demon before going for the Fire Daddy.
Fusify waiting in the midst. It's up to Papis to play this safe. 2 members a little low here, Dheylo and the support. Instead, trying to guarantee themselves the Fire Giant. Warchi is going to start it up. Fusify gets spotted out. 1 chain not on the mark. Still can look for the potential steal. Warchi gets knocked up.
Fusify, it's the thought that counts. That is all that he is looking for. He has bought so much time for his team already, but it's not going to be enough. The jump in, commit. Thorns have been popped.
Through the portal. That's going to be an unofficial deicide. Papis secured the first Fire Giant of game number 3, the elimination game to advance beyond the European Gauntlet.
And again, this is all to see who gets to play NRG. So this is quite an important set. Both of these teams really looking for their own redemption factors to prove that they have what it takes to compete.
MrNazer, though, left alone against Dzoni, forced to use the Aegis to prevent the damage. Now he's going to use his ultimate just to go through that portal, able to keep himself alive with the assistance of all his teammates.
And that speed boost now just means that Creed is ready to commit underneath the T2 tower, already going straight onto Kespainify, not wasting any time. Aegis has been forced out, but so is the Cobra's Kiss. There's the silence, but it's not going to be enough to buy Kespainify enough time to live.
So much damage onto that Izanami. No possible way to survive. Now Warchi is going to be able to melt this tier 2 tower as the minions finally enter. Creed trying to do what he can to retreat onto the tower. That unstable vortex, half-healthing FaraKrik. Dheylo jumping in. Sibi's in a little bit of trouble. The Stinger providing the damage. MrNazer providing the damage. Now the middle Phoenix is going to absorb the damage.
This is looking grim right now if you're a Burritos fan back at home. Mid Phoenix has been secured. Dzoni about to respawn. There's still 2 T2s remaining, which means that the Papis are going to opt to play it safe as opposed to walking into that Titan room.
If Dzoni wasn't respawning in the next 5 seconds after that middle Phoenix has demolished, I'm pretty sure Papis would maybe look for the end there.
I think the Papis could have found the end there. Even with those 2 T towers still standing, it would not have made enough of a difference. There is so much shred potential between Warchi and MrNazer now. Those unstable vortices are starting to really chunk away at people.
Dzoni just has to be that unfortunate spectator as his own speed buff gets stripped right in front of him. Couldn't really do anything about that one. So many towers off the board from Burrito, and every single tower that gets taken out exposes their Titan a little bit more and more, stripping away protections, stripping away some of the damage it does, and the health.
Papis gotta be feeling good right about now, but you just know that they're not gonna risk it when they're this close to victory. They can literally taste it.
It's just so close for them. They won game number 1. Burrito a bite back in game number 2, and now Papis, they have the game in their absolute control here with over 10,000 of a gold lead. With Fire Giant around their waist for another minute and 15 seconds on all 5 members, they should be able to close out at least an additional Phoenix with this Fire Giant.
Burrito just looking like leftovers right now to the Papis. Papis taking away that last standing T2 tower, meaning that it's going to be the Phoenix Siege coming up next, and Burrito, they're just trying to get ready for it.
We saw Dzoni trying to find a split push in the mid lane, keeping some of the minions away from the action, but it's not going to be enough. All 5 Papis are here grouped up in the long lane. They want the second Phoenix of the game here. Trying to go in is Dracomarino, finding a pull onto 2, not able to connect onto anybody though. Sibi though is in a little bit of trouble. It's actually Kespainify that's going to fall first.
And Dzoni trying to chase out MrNazer, but he's not going to be able to find him. MrNazer's too slippery on these Janus portals. Instead, Dracomarino leading the forefront.
Clipping FaraKrik in the back. Sibi gets pulled back in by Dheylo with the poisons. 2 dead Burritos. Left Phoenix is left exposed. It's going to fall down now. Finally, less than half health. Fusify and FaraKrik trying to do what they can. Fusify jumps in. It's FaraKrik, and it's also Dzoni in the backline, not able to just cut it. Only FaraKrik alive. Surrender vote has been started, and it's Papis that are moving on to face Energy in the Gauntlet.
What a sound off. Warchi actually closing out that set with a triple kill. That's a way to go out.
That is quite a performance here by honestly both of these teams. Even though Burrito wasn't able to really topple over Papis, they were able to go over a Victoria's Secret, and they made quite a battle there. Let's take a look at the post-game stats here in game number 3.
And again, it went from Papis' control to Burrito bouncing back, and then one more time, Papis just closing out the set so cleanly. Like, they were not looking to risk anything on that one.
And the way that Burrito started things off, they applied so much pressure in that solo lane. I think that ultimately, because of how much attention they forced onto Sibi, it ultimately kind of like bit them at the end.
Well, for Burrito, if you looked at it in those post-game stats, they didn't even have 1,000 tower damage put out. Papis had full control of the map, and that was really the main downfall for Burrito. Even though they could kind of go even a little bit at those initial engagements, it just ultimately crumbled for them at the end.
Well, me and you can talk about this game for as long as we can, but let's go ahead and throw it over to Tom and Ron in the analyst desk.
Thanks a lot, folks. Welcome back to the Analyst Desk here in hi-rez Studios, Alpharetta, Georgia. My name's Tom Battinger, joined here by Ron Unfortunate Jobbert, and we've got a fantastic afternoon. Still, 2 more sets, but that's going to be the conclusion to the European start. So last year we went right through, and it was an arduous journey for our teams. This year we cut everything in half. So let's take a look at how we're doing things to this weekend, and you can see the first half of this European tournament is concluded with the Papis heading on, and they'll be taking on Energy.
So the Papis facing Energy, very unfortunate for them. I mean, Energy being 6th seed, you're not going to beat them. And I'm really sorry for the Papis. That's going to be a loss tomorrow, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, today was, you know, nice to watch these teams come out and play, but at the end of the day, the top half of the bracket here, as far as our Gauntlet is concerned, is relatively stacked. Energy, the 2-time defending world champion team, made it into the Gauntlet, so they will be going up, and they're not even the final boss.
If for some miracle the Papis defeat Energy, they will have to go on to face Valen Squad, who was an even higher seed than Energy, and they will again lose in another hypothetical scenario.
Yeah, lot of competition, and that of course is going to be tomorrow. We'll take a look at how everything goes. Still here on hi-rez TV, but again, the very tough competition ahead for these teams. But let's reflect on what they were able to do today. First up was Burrito versus Victorious here. Victorious Secret was, it was nice to watch some of these players come out and show up.
It was, and having that happen, and how I was saying, oh, well, they play very aggressive, and they have very aggressive god pools, that definitely bit them in the end, considering that Burrito learned how to play against it in Game 2.
Exactly, and you know, we watched, one of the biggest problems for me here was the jungle position. Unfortunately, you know, I like the jungle Kuzenbo. Jokes aside, we don't, haha, me and Kuzenbo. But jokes aside, I think there's a lot of positive to it. Captain Twig, our very own, you know, Obey superstar, what are they, #1? Took out the Kuzenbo jungle, looked fantastic. But Frostiak found himself 5 levels down.
Right, and whenever you're 5 levels down, Kuzenbo's value comes from his Reflect and adding Thorns to his kit, and he's been buffed a lot. Like, his numbers are definitely insane. And if they buff him maybe even a little bit more, he'll be probably one of the best Guardians in the game.
Sure.
And playing Kuzenbo from behind, you know, you still have some value in that Reflect. You still have some value in your CC that's mostly unavoidable, especially your ultimate, but whenever you're so far behind, your damage is just not there.
That's the thing, is that as a Guardian, you know, basically you look at the world of 2 different item dependency and level dependency, and Kuzenbo is a Guardian that just needs the levels, and when he's not able to get those levels, he's not able to do anything. So because of that, Kuzenbo winds up flat. Victorious Secret, well, everybody knows their secret now. No, you can't have a pet.
Kuzenbo, he said bye this time.
Oh, as opposed to the hey.
Yeah, usually he says hey, and then this time he said bye.
Well, how would a Kuzenbo say bye?
Bye.
Excellent. I love your voice acting. Victoria's Secret wind up basically giving Burrito a bye, and they go on to pace off the Papis. And the Papis looked, are they activated?
Absolutely not. That was a very sloppy game, and you can tell why these teams are relegated. Definitely very poor shot calling from both of them. A lot of misabilities. Definitely very long breaks in the game where there are objectives available to be taken, objectives that are able to be fought over, that literally nothing was happening. Here's
the thing, though, and I found myself almost frustrated watching those games where towards the end of the split and throughout the course of the year, the Papis relegated in earlier on this year and had a number of splits. Burrito also have played in the Pro League. These guys looked better in the fall split. These two teams looked like they were putting something together. Where did it all fall apart for the Papis and Burrito?
Well, we just saw 6 games of, you know, Week 5 SPL. We just saw 3 more just now. So these teams have probably been honestly scrimming each other too. I mean, coming in, they're both very low-seeded teams. They probably don't have the guys to get into the higher end scrims, and that they're probably just used to each other, and they can beat each other pretty. If this set goes to like a best of 50, best of 100, we'll probably see the same result.
Just like up until the last possible game, going back and forth, so evenly matched perhaps against themselves. But as we said, tomorrow will be a tall task. Your prediction for tomorrow, Energy?
I'm going to call Energy. I think in a best of 3, they have the opportunity because they are very reactive. They're a team that, in a best of 2 that we have in the SPL, they usually win the second game if they win a split. Then I think winning a best of 3 is very reliable.
A lot of analysis. For me, I just would have said Energy 2-0 because
really?
they're that good.
Energy 2-0.
Against the Papis, yes, I do think that.
Okay.
That is my 2
I thought
cents.
you meant after they beat the Papis, which will inevitably happen because the Papis are bad.
Well, that's a different conversation for tomorrow, but we still